65 toss power trap. That might pop wide open, Rats.
In everybody, the TPT podcast. I'm here with my man, Brad Ellyson. We're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins. He's one of the biggest Miami Dolphins fans I know. We just got done watching the game. We're going to go over some of the things that happened in the game. What could have been different in the game if some of the starters were out there for the Miami Dolphins. Brad, what is up, man? How are you doing? Some of your thoughts about the game, and tell everybody, how you became a Dolphins fan, why you love the Dolphins so much.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. I honestly was I went into the game not expecting that much, with Tua Tagovailoa being out with, another concussion protocol, with Mostert not being out or with being out with his injury. It was a good thing to see Bradley Chubb and Taron Armstead come in and be active. That was good to see. But to see Skylar Thompson come in there and just completely show like, hey, I can be a good QB in the NFL and show what he did in the preseason was really nice. I don't really know what to say. I mean, I think you said, what could be different if Tua could play. I don't know if it really could have been any different. A lot of from what I saw, man, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill just couldn't catch a ball to save their lives.
Yeah.
And Skylar was putting the ball in their chest. Like, they were catchable balls. I think Jalen Waddle missed 2 deep passes. Tyreek Hill missed 1 or 2 deep passes, and he also missed a couple slant passes. So, I mean, if Tua was there and he was throwing the ball as well, and getting it to where he needed to be, I don't know if it would have been any different if they couldn't catch a ball. So to see what they did today and only lose by 3, it's a positive thing to see. Like, we already know Teddy Bridgewater is probably not going to come back to the Dolphins next year. So Skylar showed that, hey, I can be a legit backup to Tua.
Yeah.
This morning, I don't know if you saw the news, but the organization has already announced that Tua is going to be the starter for the 2023 season.
Yeah.
So there is that as well. So there's upside coming.
Yeah. So I saw that this morning, and I wanted to get a little into that. I mean, the game, it was weird because a lot of people just didn't give the Dolphins much of a chance going to the game. But I texted you earlier, and I was like, the Bills are the worst team I've seen. And that, I mean, the Bills are a great team, but they just do things within the game where I'm like, you could be killing this team. You could be beating this team so easily, but you're running the ball on you're throwing the ball on 1st and 18 when you should just be running it. And just some of the things the Bills do where I knew that it would keep the Dolphins in the game. Tyreek Hill, I don't know where he was tonight. There were just times where he was just non-existent. Jalen Waddle was open deep several times that could have changed this game. He would get the ball and he would bring it in, but he wasn't really just holding the ball, and guys were just punching it out. So I just thought they didn't really – there was times they didn't help Skylar Thompson out. And even the play calling. They're in the huddle with 5 seconds left, and you got to get the play in. This isn't Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah. This isn't Teddy Bridgewater veterans who know how to recite the plays. This is a guy who was at Kansas State 10 months ago. So you got to be able to get the plays in. There was maybe 10 to 15 times, and even on that last drive, it cost them. They were 4th and 1. They had to go 4th and 5 because they were still in the huddle with 3 seconds left. I just didn't understand why they weren't getting the plays out as quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give the guy. I mean, you got to give him some credit where credit's due. His numbers were not great, but like I said, I mean, I think his stats were he went 18 for 45, 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Those numbers sound absolutely disgusting. But when you watch the game and you saw where he was actually putting the ball where it should have been, and wide receivers just weren't catching it, you can't put that on the QB. You've got to put that on your receivers. The QB can only do but so much without he needs help to score, to get the game going. I honestly think if those balls were caught, this game would have been a whole different complete. I honestly, and I'm not being biased when I say this, it might sound like it, I think we had the better team in the second half. I think we had the better team, maybe even considering the second quarter. We scored 17 unanswered points to go into halftime. So, well, I can't say that because they did kick a field goal before halftime. But, still, we proved that we could be or should have been the better team on the field again. That's the second time we played in Buffalo, once in the snow a couple weeks ago, and then tonight, where I think the Dolphins were the better team on the field. Buffalo got lucky, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's not crazy to say. That's not biased. There was some things that kind of went the Bills' way, and when you're playing a good team like that, and you're playing, and it's a guy like Skylar Thompson, who's his third career start, you need to be almost perfect. And I just thought there was little things they just didn't help him with on the offensive side of the ball. I feel like they just didn't run the ball effectively. And there was times where he made the throws he had to, because, I mean, I was being a little harsh on him in the beginning because I'm used to, the last couple of years watching, Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, you forget that it's like you're not going to always have a quarterback that's going to play at such a high level. You have to have the players around him and the coaching around him, and even the defense at times around him to make plays. I thought the defense did. They had that strip sack and the points. And you're right. The second half, and it was just a huge swing towards the Dolphins. And then I feel like when the Dolphins got the ball back on offense, it just stalled. And when you're playing a good team like that, you have to cut the head off the snake, because if you don't, you go to grab that snake's going to bite you. And that's what Josh Allen did. He's like, all right, you didn't cut my head off, I'm going to bite. And ultimately at the end, they bit them. But, going in, you still got a guy like Tua, like you said earlier. The future of this team is still pretty bright. We talked a little bit about, Teddy Bridgewater probably not going to be there next year. Tua, they said he's going to be our starter next year. But my question to you is, there's a QB carousel is a huge thing, and it's been a huge thing the last 3-4 years. Do you think that the Miami Dolphins go to try to get a veteran-type quarterback that kind of puts some pressure on Tua? Or do you think that Miami is just saying, this is our guy, it's Skylar Thompson, and number 3 is whoever, that's what we're going to go with? Or do you think they try to bring in, somebody, if it's Andy Dalton, whoever, to try to put some pressure on Tua?
No, I think they stick with Tua, and they're not going to go after a veteran QB. They're not going to go after Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to go after Tom Brady. It's something that the Dolphins don't have the collateral for, and here's why. Tua's contract right now, as the number 5 overall pick of the 2020 NFL draft, as we know, his initial contract, and I'm going to read it right here because I did the research and I broke everything down, so give me a second. Tua's initial contract for a 4-year was fully guaranteed $30,275,438 deal that included a $19.5 million signing bonus. The pact has an average annual value of $7.5 million. This season's pay alone was $895,000 base salary, $4.8 million in prorated signing bonus, and a $2.4 million roster bonus. That's a cap hit of $8.25 million, right? So next year is his final deal. So 2023 will be his final deal. That's a base salary of, he'll get a base salary of $1 million. It's $1,010,000. 4.9 almost in prorated signing bonus, and a 3.7 roster bonus, and that's a cap hit of $9.63 million. So with that being said, they don't have the collateral to go after somebody like Brady or like Aaron Rodgers, because at that point, what are you going to do? Brady and Rodgers are both going to, even if it is just a 1-year deal, they're going to ask for more than that $10 million that Tua. The best option that you have is to go with Tua for his final year, see how he does again. We've already seen what he's capable of this year, and he didn't even play the full season.
Yeah.
I mean, his stats were through the roof when it came to, he finished first in QBR with 105.5. That's above Mahomes. That's above Jalen Hurts. That's above Geno Smith. That's above Josh Allen. Josh Allen finished the regular season 8th in QBR. If that goes to tell you anything. He finished first in percentage for touchdown attempts. He finished first for completion percentage. He finished first for one other stat. I forget what it was, but it was like 6.8%. I think it was touchdown interception percentage rating, something like that. But I think the team is going to stick with him based off of those numbers. They've seen what he's capable of. If we can get a full season out of him without getting injured, I understand concussions are a thing. It's part of the game. You're paid millions of dollars. You're going to get hit. it is what it is. You've got players like Lamar Jackson who have a leg injury, a toe injury, whatever. He's not playing tonight, I don't think, and he's gonna ask for $125 billion.
Yeah, he's gonna ask fully guaranteed. He's gonna ask for a lot of money.
Right. And Dolphins just don't have that collateral. In reality, if they wanted to trade him, we don't even have players or trade picks to give away to get a player like Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield or we've got the players that we could possibly trade away are Mike Gesicki, which this was his franchise year anyways. We saw how that worked out. And Xavier Howard. Xavier Howard hasn't done anything for the past 3 or 4 years. We don't have a first round pick to trade away. We don't have a second round, third round pick. We gave everything away to get Tyreek Hill. We paid Tyreek Hill, $95 million a year for 5 years to be here. So the reality of bringing in a veteran like Brady or Rodgers or Lamar is just not there. So stick with the guy, offer him his 5th-year option. And the 5th year, if the Dolphins trigger that 5th-year option, they're going to get it based off of his position, his draft spot, playing time, and the fact that he hasn't made a Pro Bowl, which I think he got snubbed this year on the Pro Bowl, personally. He was the fan favorite throughout the nation, but, we know how fan favorite, works. It's just they don't count it. The estimated 5th-year option, based off of everything that he did this year, could probably be around $22 to $25 million for a 5th-year option. So why not take that risk? Because here it is, over 30 career starts, he's had more passing yards than Tom Brady, fewer interceptions than Aaron Rodgers, more passing yards than Joe Montana, and higher completion percentage than Kurt Warner. Those are just in his first 30 starts. Picking up it calculates, a risk, but it's one that the Dolphins must take to go into to take this offseason. Here's how it works. He comes in, he comes back strong and everything works out, you got him at a bargain, or it doesn't, and the team only comes down and you just go after another QB in the draft.
Yeah.
In the next draft. It's what it is. You don't really lose much if you gather his 5th-year option.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the best option for the Dolphins because, again, you don't have a lot of, assets to trade for even a guy like Derek Carr or any of the QBs you just named because, again, they made their move last year. You don't get to make a big move every year. You can take little pieces. You made your Tyreek Hill move last year. So I think it was, maybe smart for the Dolphins this year saying, next year, Tua is our guy. He's going to be our guy. If anything, if they want to take one of these quarterbacks in, 4th, 5th round, that drop, maybe like a Will Levis or something like that, you can do that because that costs you nothing. But as long as you have he's still on a rookie deal, you can put your assets on defense because Josh Allen's not going anywhere. Not even defense. I think our defense is pretty stacked, but there's some holes. We probably need a better cornerback. Xavier Howard's probably not going to be there, but I'm more concerned about our O-line. They can't block anything. No. And today,
part of the reason. Yeah, and part of the reason Tua got hurt so much this year is because it's not that he doesn't know how to take a hit; it's the fact that he had to take those hits. If you have an O-line that knows how to block, like Mahomes has a great O-line, Dak Prescott's got a great O-line. The players like that, they're not being able to get hit. They have more time to hold on to the ball. Tua's release time is like 2.5 seconds. That's so stupid fast. It's one of the fastest release times in the NFL, and it's because he has to get the ball out quick. He did learn how to scramble this year. Last year, he had a really big issue with scrambling and staying in the pocket. This year, he showed improvement. Like, hey, I can do it. We saw his improvement. But yes, there's other concerns that the Dolphins need to take care of when it comes to not only the draft but this offseason. And O-line to me is the number one. They have the 32 ranked offensive line in the league. That's just that's probably the first thing you need to go after.
Yeah. And if you want to beat a team like the Bills, and that's what it comes down to. And that's what it's going to come down to, the rest of the playoffs for these other teams that are going to go up against the Bills. Losing a guy like Von Miller, that could end up hurting the Bills just because their defensive line is so good. And when you add a guy like Von Miller on there, it's like, he's a difference maker against a team like Cincinnati and Kansas City. So, whatever they can do, keeping Tua and keeping the money in other places, because you already have the wide receivers. There are going to be some running backs available too in the draft. You could always pick up with guys like Deuce Vaughn. So there's a lot of guys out there you can put. I know they got Mostert, and he had a really good game versus the Bills the first time. I would have been curious to see what he could have been in this game versus the Bills. But I'm curious some of your thoughts. We'll move away from the Dolphins for a little bit right now. But is the rest of the playoffs, how do you think it's going to shape up? What is your take on some of the other AFC teams like the Bengals, like the Bills, and the Ravens and Jags? We saw that Jags game last night. So, start where you want with some of these other AFC teams.
So Jags game last night was absolutely crazy. Let's start there. I mean, you have a team that went from throwing the sunshine. Trevor Lawrence went from throwing 4 interceptions in the first half, to throwing 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And coming back and winning the game. It just goes to show that, sometimes all you need is just a little bit and a little heart, man. Like, he didn't give up.
And believe. That's a coach that believes in his team.
Yeah, you got to have that. I mean, it's you can't just put it all on the plate. Like, oh, wow, you know what? We're seeing what he can do. 4 interceptions. I cut the game off. I'm not even going to lie to you. I cut the game off. I was like, this is insane. It's not even worth watching at this point. The Chargers out there, they looked like the sorry, my daughter just busted in.
You're good.
The Chargers, they looked like the Falcons. You got a 27-0 lead, and then you give it up. You're like, okay, Matt Ryan, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to get to too about some of these AFC teams. So we saw the Chargers, and again, they had the huge lead. And I was going to be like you. I was about to go watch Netflix. I was about to go play Madden, and something said to me. I said, "Well, the Chargers, they're going to Charger." So I said, let me not turn this game off just yet, and let's see what these Jacksonville Jaguars can do. And they came back, and again, that's belief in a head coach. That's belief in the team to rally behind Trevor Lawrence. After the 4 interceptions, I was just like, this game is absolutely over. I mean, this is terrible. And, beat by 2. And Brandon Staley did what Brandon Staley did best. So, what do you think the state of the Chargers right now? Do you think they move on from Brandon Staley, and why?
No. I mean, you can't base – I think they give him one more season. I'll be shocked if I wake up tomorrow morning and the Chargers have fired him because they gave up a lead like that. I mean, it's if another NFL team is willing to keep, a quarterback that all he has ever done is give up huge leads, and before you trade him away, I mean, the head coach, he's done really well for that organization. Yeah, you lost in the playoffs. Yeah, you gave up, 27 points to lose the game. But I think they give him one more year. Hey, you made it to the playoffs. Yeah, this sucks. He's not going to get a slap on the wrist. I'll be shocked if I wake up tomorrow and they have fired him, or this week and they have let him go. Yeah. I'll be shocked. That would be something that I would just find absolutely incredible. And if that does happen, the team that needs to go after him and pick him up is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. That's the first team that needs to give him a phone call. But just what he's done with Justin Herbert, I mean, and Justin Herbert is a fantastic QB. He's probably could be one of the best. He just has to get a ring, which I think he will eventually. But Chargers are going to stick with him. They're going to give him one more year. If he doesn't turn it around, then he'll be on the hot seat.
Yeah, the only way, again, I don't believe in Staley, but I think they'll give him one more year unless tomorrow Sean Payton says, I'll be your next head coach of the Chargers. But the Chargers don't do that. The Chargers barely like to play their rookies players in training camp. Every year I feel like they're like, this guy's holding out and this guy's holding out. So they're not going to go get a big time head coach. They're just not. They don't like to spend money like that. So
the Raiders do.
Huh?
The Raiders do.
Yeah, the Raiders do. That's what I'm saying. The Raiders will have no problem paying big time head coaches. Josh McDaniels, I mean, that was another train wreck in the AFC West as well. That's a team I thought would be in the playoffs. But that was
I personally think Sean Payton is just too. He's asking for too much for what he's done. Yes, he's a great head coach. Yet, but he's got what, one Super Bowl ring? He's done like he really his resume just to me is not that impressive. And you're gonna add, and I know he's gonna ask for a big pay grade. Like I know he's gonna ask for a big paycheck. We all know because it's Sean Payton. But if you look at his resume for what he's done with the Saints, he's got what, one Super Bowl ring?
Yeah, and a lot of talented teams too. I just think that people see the offensive mind in him, and I think that's why a team like Denver is trying to go after him. But I don't know. I think he's going to return back to the Saints. I don't know if any of these teams want to pay the big price from some of these teams can't. The Broncos can't. Some of these other teams can't. They already gave up everything they had to pay a guy like Russell Wilson, and now they're trying to, bring in a big time head coach. I think he'll go back to the Saints. Another thing about the AFC is you got a team like the Cincinnati Bengals. It's really looking like, we got a game tonight. We will see that it's going to be the Bengals and the Bills in the divisional round. What's a matchup like that you could see that is potentially could happen between the Bengals and the Bills?
If the Bills play like they did tonight, the Bengals will absolutely destroy them.
I completely agree.
I mean, the Bills cannot go to – I think the Bills made a huge mistake in thinking like, we're just playing the Dolphins. I really honestly feel like they made that mistake. We're just playing the Dolphins, the 9-8 Dolphins. But the Bills, if they want to actually get a ring, they have to play every game like they're 0-0, that they want to be 1-0. You have to go into that mindset. So if they play the game like they played today against the Bengals will absolutely destroy them. Joe Burrow is a petty human being. He's got a chip on his shoulder from last season. And he will do everything that he can to win a football game. And he does, and he will. And you can tell when he loses, he's pissed. He is not happy. And he goes in the next week and he's like, I got to be better. And he plays better. So I think the Bengals win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be close. Very, very, very close. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 1-point game to be final.
Yeah, I agree. If the Bills play remotely how they did in this game, because the one thing the Bengals, and this is what someone, they've been asking me all week, is if the Chiefs and Bengals play, who wins? And I tell everyone this every single time. I said, let me know what the turnover margin is. Because if the turnover margin is favored towards the Chiefs or favored towards the Bengals, that's who will win the game. Because the Bengals are a good team and they will capitalize off your mistakes. I just think the Bills they know they're the Bills. That's their problem. They know, oh, wow, we can score 60 points in a game. And I think that's their problem sometimes is they go, oh, I'm just going to try to throw a 60-yard bomb instead of taking this check down right here. And it turns into an interception. Josh Allen, or he's trying to roll out of the pocket and he has the ball in one hand and someone slaps it out. And the Bengals are such a well-oiled machine where they're going to take advantage of that. And, you see teams like the Chiefs, you see teams like the Bengals where it's like, if you turn the ball over, our quarterback is going to make you play. So I think if the Bills play remotely how they played, not running the ball when they're supposed to, not just getting the ball in their playmakers' hands, but trying to throw just deep post play.
And not blocking. Not blocking. That O-line, they have a really strong O-line.
And
arguably top 5. And they just collapsed. They just, for some reason, they end up collapsing. That's something that they can't do. If they want to make the run that everybody – and being a Dolphins fan, it sucks to say this, but the Bills probably have arguably the best – I said arguably because I know you're a Chiefs fan, but arguably the best team in the NFL. It's a coin toss between them and the Chiefs.
I think they have the best roster.
Yeah. And it sucks to see a team that has such a high quality roster the way that they do, and then they go out and play like the way they did tonight.
And that's what I just don't get. I was talking to you a little bit earlier. over text, and I think I said this is the best worst team I've ever seen because I've never seen a team, and again, the Chiefs can do some stupid stuff, but it's not where it leads to turnovers and it's fumbling. They just do play calls where it's like, you have Mahomes, stop it. Like, what are you doing? And I look at the Bills, I shouldn't care. I'm a Chiefs fan, but I'm just like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you calling that? Why are you calling a timeout when your team is up and they're about to get a sack, but you call a timeout before the play? And it would have been
this is a team
down. It doesn't make any sense. It's not to Chargers level, but it just doesn't make any sense. I think that's going to bite them in the butt versus a team like the Bengals, and you don't see that too often. Yes, their offensive line can be bad, but you don't see the Bengals making too many mistakes like that.
And this is a team that everybody in the beginning of the season, during the season, even now, they're saying that they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to win the Super Bowl. And I just, maybe not, but the last couple of weeks that they've played, I don't see it. I don't see it.
I don't see it
this is a team that they're saying, okay, the AFC division round is going to be or the AFC championship is going to be between the Chiefs and the Bills. Yeah, on paper, that's exactly what it could be. You might be right. That's a pretty fair estimation that that's what it's going to be. But now it's like, oh, shit, it could be the Bengals and the Chiefs. It could be the Jags and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Shit, it could be. The Chiefs might not even make it. Who knows? I mean, this season's been weird.
It's been a crazy season. And I mean, obviously, we got to bring it back to the Chiefs a little bit I was a Chiefs fan. I didn't even have the Chiefs getting to this level, but it does give me a certain confidence when you see the Bills. Because again, the Chiefs aren't invincible. But when you see the Bills, playing at this type of style and play, you're like, you really do have a chance to get to the big one. The only team that really stands in the way is the Bengals. And again, like I said, it comes down to if you turn the ball over, if you can play fundamental defense, and you can get to Joe Burrow. Because we've seen what that offensive line looks like. And the Bengals are a little beat up right now on the offensive line. They're missing their left tackle. But it's like you've seen what that offensive line can be if they do not block for Joe Burrow. But I think it's going to come down to I would love to see Chiefs Bills because I think that's a better shot. And it would be in Atlanta, closer where I am. I would have an opportunity to go to that. So I'd love that. But there's a part of me that just think it's going to be Chiefs and Bengals. I mean, unless the Ravens pull it a miracle out tonight, you could see a Chiefs-Jags AFC championship. But I think it's going to be the Bengals and the Bills. All right, guys, we're going to head into our last segment here. We're going to get Brad's take on who he has getting to the Super Bowl, his picks these last couple of games. And then we're going to head out of here. We'll be back right after this, guys. All right, everybody, welcome back to the TPT podcast. We're going to get Brad's picks on who he has on the NFC side and going to the Super Bowl. We're going to get those to you right here. So, Brad, let me know who you got on the NFC side, these rest of the games, and then give me your Super Bowl pick.
NFC side, and I'm going to get laughed at for saying it, but I kind of see the Cowboys making it. I do. If they lose to I think they'll beat the Bucs. We know what the Cowboys do in the playoffs. It's just they blow it. But they're playing the Bucs tonight. So I know we all know what Tom Brady can do in the playoffs, but Mike Evans hasn't been hitting on it in the past couple of weeks. I think, in my fantasy league, I still kept him on my as a starter. And in the last 7 weeks, I think he only scored over 20 points one time. But we all know what Tom Brady can do in the playoffs. I still think the Cowboys pull out the W. I think the Cowboys on the NFC side make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, I think that's a safe bet to say Cowboys make it. I don't think the Giants will. I'd be surprised if the Giants held their lead tonight against the Vikings. We know what Kirk Cousins is capable of. He's a really good QB. I won't say elite, but the numbers that he's had. Yeah, he's right on the edge. I still think the Giants could pull it off. Danny Dimes is just doing stuff that nobody saw that they were doing last season. He looked like a bust.
Kudos to the Giants this year.
Yeah. So, but I still see the Cowboys making it to the Super Bowl for the NFC side. AFC side, that's a huge coin toss.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
There's three teams that are capable of making it to the Super Bowl, and we already know who they are: the Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Bills. So I'm an AFC East person, as you know. So I'm gonna say the Bills if they get their act together.
Yeah.
If they don't, it's gonna be the Chiefs. I don't think the Bengals have what it takes to beat Mahomes at all.
Yeah, I think that, the Bengals have been the Chiefs' kryptonite, but this would just be so in Chiefs fashion. The game's at Arrowhead. They will be getting some guys back because last time they played them, they didn't have their speedster guys. They didn't have McCall Hardman. They didn't have Kadarius Toney. And you may be saying, really, Kadarius Toney and McCall Hardman? It's like those little things make a difference.
Absolutely.
But if those guys are out, you have to put in a guy like Christian Watson and a guy like Sky Moore. One's a rookie and one's a guy, who's kind of just a slot guy here and there and a special teamer. So if you got two guys that are both speeds like that, you can do reverse options. You can do jet sweeps. So I think that will help a little bit, just having extra weapons out there. And, the game in Arrowhead, that'll help a little bit. I do think, my pick in the AFC is Chiefs and Bills. The Cowboys is an outrageous pick. They're my dark horse to make it to the Super Bowl on the NFC side. I have the 49ers, but the Cowboys defense.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because I completely forgot about that game last night too, where the 49ers, and now I kind of want to change my pick because Brock Purdy is he's doing things that you just wouldn't fathom being. What was he? He was a 7th round pick as well.
He was the last pick. He's Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, the last pick. Who's the last quarterback that we know was one of the last picks in the draft to go out there and be one of the greatest of all time?
Yeah,
Tom freaking Brady.
Yeah.
So I'm not comparing the two. I'm not. I'm just saying.
No. Yeah, I get
there's a mirror almost, and it's kind of crazy to see. I'm changing my pick. I didn't even think about the 49ers doing it.
He's going with the Niners.
I've got to go with the Niners now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, Niners to the Super Bowl for NFC.
So you got Niners, Bills, Super Bowl. That would absolutely be super entertaining. You got both good defenses, good offenses right now. That would be a great Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You also got the Eagles too. Do you just think the Eagles, do you think it's the inexperience of the coaching? Do you think it's just Jalen Hurts is not there yet? And they're a little banged up. What is it about the Eagles?
I think it was the loss. You had a team that was 13-0, 12-0.
Yeah.
And then they lost. And then that their momentum probably just took a tumble. I mean, and that happens. We saw it 2 or 3 years ago with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2020.
Yeah, 2020. Yes,
they had the 11-0 lead, and they were looking really good. And then all of a sudden, they got that one loss. Just they tumbled. I don't think the Eagles are a team that. I got to think before I say this because I think they're a really, really good team. I don't think they have any issues. I think they just got into their own heads. And
I just don't know. I like the Eagles. I think they can get to the NFC Championship with the 49ers. I just don't know if they have the Nick Sirianni is a good head coach. I just don't know if it's their turn yet. The 49ers had, they've had their turn over the years, but it's just like that system in place. So like, they just win. And you have to go with what you know. People criticize me all the time when they're like, oh, you have the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game or you have them in the Super Bowl. I'm like, well, I'm just going with what I know. What I've seen the last 4 years is they've been to either the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. The Patriots were the same way. They were people's picks most here because you got to go to what you know. The 49ers, the Rams aren't in it.
Well, the same thing happened with me. You and I were on TikTok. You and I were on TikTok on one of your lives. Like a couple months ago, and y'all asked me how the Dolphins were going to finish the year, and y'all laughed at me when I said their ceiling is 12 wins. Their floor is 9. If Tua didn't go down, I firmly still believe they would have had 12 wins this season. So, I mean, I'm with you.
Division.
You go with what you know, and I know the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins, in and out, like just like the Chiefs in and out. So, Tua doesn't go down. I'm with you. I agree with you 100%. So it's not really, you can't really be called a homer, or you can't be called, biased about it when it's what you know. So
yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah. So great picks. Well, my man Brad right here. We're going to get out of here. Brad, tell the people where they can find you on social media. We know you like to post on TikTok every now and then. What is your username? They can find you on TikTok.
Yeah, on TikTok, my username is Bradford Ellison. Spelled exactly. Last name is Elllyson because my family's British and we spell things weird. And then TikTok, and then I'm also on Twitter. I'm starting to get on Twitter a little bit more, but on Twitter it is Brad Ellyson. Same spelling. That's it. I stay off of everything else, but TikTok and Twitter are the places you can find me. I'm usually always on Twitter during football games, mostly for college. I'm a Georgia fan, as you know. And, but yeah, reach out to me. Let me know. I do go live every once in a while on TikTok during football season. So check it out. Sometimes me and you are actually on lives every once in a while. I haven't been there lately. I've got a 2-month-old or 3-month-old. So my life is a little hectic now, but yeah, catch me there. I'm always around, and I usually reply like everything within like a day. So yeah.
If you guys are Dolphins fan, you got to go follow him on TikTok. He is live usually with me and a bunch of other guys talking about the NFL, college football, and some other stuff. So make sure you guys go follow him on there. Brad, thank you so much for joining the show. You brought awesome statistics, awesome analysis on the playoffs, and of course your Dolphins. We appreciate you being on. We will catch you guys next time on the TPT podcast.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell, follow us on all social media, and check out our videos each week.